Welcome to York Framing Gallery. I'm here with Robin Lerios, the owner of York Framing, and I'm really excited to get to chat with you and share with the world your shop and your business and everything about you.
Thank you.
So how did you get started in the framing industry?
Interestingly enough, my daughters were at the Soquel Co-op nursery school where I was enrolled, not them. And as a budding photographer, which is my other passion and business, I started taking pictures of the kids, and one of the other moms owned what's right across the street as Bay Photo Lab now was CC Color Lab. And she, after I was taking the portraits of the kids for their annual portraits and stuff, she said, hey, you know, I need a wedding photographer. You want to try that? And I said, sure. I mean, I'll try anything.
Yeah.
So I went, okay. So she took me to a wedding and basically left me there, having been to only my wedding in my life.
Oh my gosh.
One other one. And I'm like,
sweating?
Oh, yeah, okay. How do you take wedding cake pictures? I mean, this was important. So
yeah.
Anyway, did the wedding photography thing for her, continued the kids in preschool. And then
how
one
did
day,
the photos turn out?
Okay, I got lucky. I think I've been given a gift as a photographer.
Yeah.
I never studied it, but
you have an eye.
I'm good. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
And it speaks to me. So
that's cool.
And I found it. You know, we're good at a lot of things that we don't find.
Right.
Framing, for one. I had no idea.
Right.
So basically, then she said to me one day, I need a framer. Do you want to try framing art? And so again, right across the street, my daughter Sophia was then 3, and I would bring her to my little studio across the street behind what's now Bay Photo, and started framing art. And it was much more rudimentary. We didn't cut the glass, we didn't cut the frames. They were all delivered to size with these little plugs that you put the plastic thing in with glue. And when they opened the Capitola Mall, the York family, which owned Little Baja, started a Little Baja in the mall, which didn't work very well because who's hauling pots through the mall? You know,
I can't imagine.
Yeah, and so basically people were buying the frames.
Right.
One day somebody said, hey, Jim York, can I get glass in this? And Jim said no to nothing. Jim Yorked everything.
Oh my God, I love that.
So he's like, sure.
Yeah.
So he called his friend who was a framer.
It's a really
and
good
said,
business philosophy in general.
Yeah.
Just say yes.
Just say yes, York it.
Yeah.
You know? And so he got glass. And then he was also a minister down in Moss Landing. He lived in Prunedale. And so he talked to the people that he ministered, and one of them was a framer. And the guy goes, you should come with me. We're going to go to this company that has like their blowout sale. Just come, it'll be fun. And they had a whole bunch of molding for sale, and Jim goes, I want to buy all that. He had no idea how to make frames. He then bought it, took it to the Capitola Mall, which said, basically, in the long run, you can't do that here. So he had an off-site production for it. But he went into, I think it was Orchard Supply Hardware, which did not sell framing material machines. And there was a joiner in the middle of the place for sale that was there by accident. And he goes, I need to buy that. And that's how he started joining frames. You can buy a saw anywhere, right?
Right.
It was crazy. So
That's
meant to be.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
yeah. I started going into York Gallery when it was at the Capitola Mall as a photographer to get my photos ready for the fair, or matting them.
Yeah.
The gal who was there that everybody knew was Georgia, and she said, you know, do you ever want a job? And I said, you know, I'm a mom. I got a job. And she's like, well, you're really good at color. And I'm like, yeah, I got a job. One day I walked into the gallery and I said, hey, Georgia, you said, do you ever want a job? Let me know. And she goes, oh, did you see the ad in the paper this morning? And I said, no. Jim had just posted an ad for a designer in the paper that morning. Yeah. And she goes, hold that thought. And she walked into the office and talked to Jim, and Jim goes, send her on in. And I got hired that day. My mom was a dress designer, and I often shared a room with her productions. And so, you know, I learned color theory very early.
Oh, that's cool.
I learned how we're all built differently, and just a lot of appreciation. Super lover of art. She was a great artist as well. So I learned a lot of that from her. That I just think, you know, those things go in, and you don't even know how you learn these things. So then I started my career at York Gallery, and Jim York was lovely to work for. He eventually sold. He had 4 sons who all worked in the gallery.
Oh, wow.
And the oldest, out of the duty, you know, became the owner of York Gallery with his wife. And after about a year, she goes, how come I'm doing all the work here? And he goes, I don't want to own this place. I want to be a sheriff. And so she's like, then why are we here? And so they sold it back to Jim York, who said, Robin, you want to own it? And I'm like, hell no.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. No.
There was no no.
Well, I didn't want to be an owner. I don't wear a watch. I like to whistle and do cartwheels, and I figured I'd leave my child behind. You know, I didn't want to be a hard ass.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to be. I said no. I asked my mom. She's like, no.
Yeah.
So then they found a family, his best friend, daughter, and daughter-in-law. They bought it not knowing anything about framing, and so basically I ran it, and I was doing all the ordering at that point and that kind of stuff. So, you know, it was just, everyone thought I already owned it anyway.
Oh, interesting.
Just because I have that knowledge base, I guess, you know, the history of the business at that point. So unfortunately, I found out in August that they were closing the business, and it had been for sale already since January when they told us it was for sale, which I thought was like shocking.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, this is my livelihood. I love my clientele. I like what I do a lot,
Yeah.
you know, so it was very shocking. And so I went to get a root canal from an endodontist who was one of my clients here. And I said, you know, you better get
Come
something
now.
framed now
Yeah.
because it's closing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not working here at all. And so, and the problem was also that we had a fire. So they downsized. It started closing, getting worse and worse. Went to the endodontist. He goes, no, I think you're going to own it. You're going to buy it. You're going to move it. It's going to be great. He's also a Peruvian shaman, by the way. But I was like, I don't know, man. I went to my mom, who'd always said, no, don't get it. And I said, what do you think? And she's like, I think it's time. And so I was like, well, okay. Well, as soon as that conversation with Bill Francis took place, I said, are you going to help me? And he
To
said,
your mom or to?
no, to Bill Francis, who is this endodontist.
Yeah.
That I was getting a root canal on. And he said, yes, I'm going to help you.
Wow.
And he was he had a
All
couple
of a
different
sudden, all of
businesses.
your doors were opening as well.
Yeah.
Aww.
So this place found me. Long story short, my daughter and I were over at the Buttery waiting for the real estate agent to show me this place. And we sat down to talk. And about half an hour later, my daughter looked at me and she goes, do you see what just happened? And I said, what? She goes, the entire time we've here, you've known everyone that's walked through that door, Mom.
I just got the chills.
She goes, you're meant to be on this corner.
Robin.
And I grew up, I framed across the street. My mom would bring us to the wagon to go to Shoppers Corner when I was a little one. So this has been part of my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I didn't even notice. And she goes, when do we sit together and not get to talk?
Oh.
That never happens with Adrian, you know? And so
That's
anyway, then we looked in
significant.
here and it was just like, wow, this is awesome. And the landlord was really generous with what I needed to do. Take out that wall, build an office, knock out a wall. Can you put up a new one in the back and separate 2 units? And he said, sure. And so this is where I've been ever since.
It's incredible.
And it's a good corner for this business.
So how long have you owned this business?
Next month, it'll be 11 years. And I've worked here about 30.
Aww.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, I still really love what I do.
That's great.
And I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
And I really take pride in it. And my new employee said, wow, it's really interesting when someone opens it up and you get to see their reaction. Because nobody drops $300 to frame something on something they don't care about. These are heirlooms, a lot of these things.
Right.
Yeah. And so I feel very honored and really blessed to get to help our community with this kind of thing. And now our community's grown because so many frame shops have closed.
That's really
So
cool.
people definitely come to town to come to us.
Yeah. What would you say is your favorite thing about your job, your business?
Interacting with people.
Yeah.
Like I said, people are framing something that's important to them on a level of, sometimes dropping $1,000, it's really depends on whatever they choose, but they'll walk in and if it'll be their first time, it's a daunting task. You think when you get here and you're looking at thousands of frame samples on the wall, which I'm really proud of because a lot of frame shops don't have the space for this, and it makes a difference when you can touch it, look at it, put it with your art, take them home. We let people take them home, look at them in your space. Your lighting's different than mine, what's it look like next to the bureau in the bedroom, So there's a lot of that, but getting to hear people's stories. Yeah. Like their grandma did this. This is this little stitchery thing that my grandma did and I never got to meet her, but it was given to me. Just really human interest. And I think I'm part therapist and part, I don't know, a part designer. And so I think working with the people and then getting to watch them when you open it. And they're like, oh my God, and they cry sometimes. And
What would you say is the biggest challenge that you experience with either framing or your business or anything?
I think the inconsistency in the products. This frame could come in looking like this it could come in looking like this for years.
So you're ordering the same frame.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it comes in and it's got like a black wash on it. So then we'd ask the designer first, do you think your client would mind? Often it's like, I don't know, this is what they chose.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, no, they wouldn't care. Or boy, she would really care.
Yeah.
We have a little system where we say 5-star, and that's for someone who has a real critical eye like we have. So if anything's the least bit different, it has to be a call to client. Our job is to educate people with what are legitimate choices, I'll say, because they'll come in and, oh, my brother had this thing and I love the way it looks on his wall. Well, maybe his thing was this big and they had this really slight frame. And they're bringing in something this big, and I say, you can't use a frame that's that small.
Right.
It's not safe, it's not stable, it won't offer a good support system for what you're doing. So in that respect, I have to educate them first as to none of this matters.
Yeah.
Just start talking about you,
Right.
or who the art's going to, or what the room looks like, or what the furniture's like, or what is your usual fare in framing. What do you like? Because once you start hearing them talking, a bunch of these fall away from the equation. And then once they tell you about the room, a bunch of these will fall away from the equation. And then they'll show you the art, and I'm like, oh, hold on, I got the frame. So I often have, like, it's almost the frame yells at me, because I know my product so well that I'll know what would look good on it. What I have to tell people is there's no right way to frame anything.
Right.
There's multiple ways to frame everything, and it's going to look good in lots of different ways. So it's guttural. What feels good to you?
Yeah.
If we're pulling out mat boards, so we have hundreds of mat boards, we have thousands of frames. So then if it's a piece of art that has lots of colors in it, I'll bring some of those colors over as well as some neutrals, and just go, so here's some mats, and they'll go, oh God, I hate green. Great, your no is just as important as your yes.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to find out where's that avenue into the things that you like, and then we'll pick between those. So often what we'll do is they'll pick the most expensive frame in the shop, and then they'll go, oh my gosh, and so then I have to say, okay, now I know what you like.
Yeah.
So let's look
backwards
within that wheelhouse, and let's find some things, because it's always the frame that costs the most money.
Which one's the most expensive frame in the shop?
Probably, this line it's got gold leaf.
Oh yeah, 24
So
karat.
it's actually gold leaf. This one has gold leaf. Yeah, I don't want anyone to not be able to frame something, and it seems very, when you walk in, it's very like, I'm out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I can't afford this. Is
Right.
Often what
Out of your
people
league.
think,
Yeah.
and fortunately you can.
Yeah.
And I even have a little how to do ready-made frames at home.
Oh, that's
And
great.
so we talk them into it, we'll say, you can take this home.
Yeah.
This is it's a ready-made frame. It's
Yeah.
really simple.
Yeah.
Here's how you do it. And here, take this paperwork home.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're going to jump, call me.
Yeah.
I can talk you on the phone maybe through it, or just bring it back. The cost is the same later as it is now if you want us to do it for you, if it's just like too much dog hair, whatever.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like you have a sliding scale. You can basically meet anybody's budget, but then you get to know them to feel what they need, what they want, and then like what they can afford.
Yeah.
That's great.
This lady came in and she had all these, her daughter had cancer and died while she was still in high school. And so she's like, I know that this is really uncomfortable, but this is the stuff I want to put in her memory box. And it was a picture of Brittany, it was her little baby bracelet, it was a lock of her hair, and it was the rods she had in her bag. She's like, I'm really sorry if this is hard for you. And I said, hey, this is your daughter.
Yeah.
Whatever represents her existence to you is exactly what should be in this box. And so I said, I'm not concerned about this at all.
Yeah.
I mean, not at all. This to me is an honor to get to be a part of this, And so when her mom came in, I mean, you want to talk about tears. And I told her, I said, I was calling on Brittany to help me, man, because, I couldn't get.
They're making me cry.
Yeah, it was really meaningful.
Yeah.
And, every now and then I'll see her. And when I see her, man, it's a great big hug.
Aww.
It's a big hug. And it touches me on a level. It's like, it's just a reminder, that things are so important to people, and I'd love to be a part of it. I do want to say that I have a great crew. I hired Kelly the day I bought, which was my daughter Sophia's best friend.
Is she still with you?
Yeah, Kelly's been here. We have our anniversary. Last time we jumped out of an airplane together. And
is it just the two of you are the only originals?
Yeah, and Anthony, who works for me now, he worked at a frame shop and was co-owner of it when he was in high school, so at 18 years old. And he walked in the door and he's like, hi, I'm looking for a job. I'm not really hiring right now. But then he goes, okay, yeah, I would love to get back into framing. I'm like, wait, what? You've done this before?
Oh, you know how?
Yeah. And so he is my big strong man.
That's so
Anthony
cool.
is awesome.
And he's been here almost since the beginning.
He's been here, I would say, Sophia's been here about 7 years, and he's just short of her. So my daughter Sophia works here.
Yeah.
I love working with her, and we're pretty good at keeping the mom-daughter thing away. The bummer is that we don't get to just be mom and daughter.
Yeah.
So we're working on that. The other day I brought everybody lunch from Gales and just said, because I know that when people come in and they say, we found you because of Yelp reviews, that it's you guys.
Yeah.
You know, so now we're going to do this whole mystery whodunit thing on
Yeah,
Saturday.
yeah.
And, you know, I try to, you know, take them bowling. We go do fun
You
stuff.
take care of them. They take care of your business, and you take care of them. And
we get
obviously,
along well.
it's working because they've been here with you since the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
If you need anything framed on any budget with a plethora of options and an amazing artist, very knowledgeable framer, you have to come to York Gallery because Robin and her team will take phenomenal care of you.
Thank you.
Do I have nuts in my teeth?
No.